The cabin lights glowed softly as passengers boarded Flight 207 from New York to London. Business class shimmered with quiet elegance, polished seats, folded blankets, and the faint scent of coffee brewing up front. Among the passengers was an old man, perhaps in his late 70s, dressed neatly in a worn-out brown coat. His hands trembled slightly as he clutched a boarding pass that read, Seat 3A, Business Class. He smiled gently at the flight attendant who greeted him. "Good evening, miss," he said politely, his voice warm but tired. "Could you help me find my seat, please?" The young attendant smiled back, though a little uncertainly. "Of course, sir. Right this way." As the man sat down, adjusting his seatbelt, a sharply dressed businessman occupying the next seat frowned. He leaned toward the attendant and whispered, not quietly enough, "Are you sure he's supposed to be here? He looks like he belongs in economy." The words hung in the air like smoke. The old man pretended not to hear, though the pain flickered briefly in his eyes. Minutes later, a second flight attendant approached him, holding a tablet. "Sir," she began hesitantly, "I'm sorry, but there seems to be a mistake with your ticket. Business class is fully booked. Could you please move to economy?" The man looked at her, confused. "There must be a misunderstanding," he said softly. "My grandson booked this seat for me. I'm not very good with these things, but he said it was a gift." But the attendant had already signaled for another crew member. Soon, the murmurs began, passengers staring, some whispering, others pretending not to notice. The businessman smirked. "Told you so." The old man stood up slowly, trembling as he gathered his small bag. "It's all right," he murmured, more to himself than anyone else. "I don't want to cause trouble." The attendants led him down the aisle toward the back, his steps heavy with humiliation. Meanwhile, in the cockpit, Captain James Walker, a seasoned pilot of 28 years, was running through his pre-flight checks. But as he glanced through the cabin door's small window, he caught sight of something unusual, an elderly man being escorted out of business class, his shoulders slumped in quiet defeat. James frowned. Something about the man's face looked familiar. He excused himself from the co-pilot for a moment and stepped out into the cabin. "What's going on here?" he asked, his voice calm but firm. The lead attendant explained quickly, "There was a ticketing mix-up, Captain. The passenger had an incorrect seat assignment. We're moving him to economy." The captain's eyes narrowed. "What's his name?" She hesitated. Mr. Arthur Bennett." James froze. The name hit him like lightning. "Arthur Bennett," he repeated quietly. The attendant nodded. James's breath caught in his throat. "Excuse me." He turned abruptly and walked down the aisle, spotting the old man trying to squeeze himself into a cramped economy seat. When their eyes met, the old man's face lit up in shock. "Arthur Bennett," the pilot said softly, "is that really you?" Arthur blinked, confused. "I'm sorry, young man, do I know you?" James smiled faintly. "You might not remember me, sir. But 35 years ago, you saved my life." The cabin went silent. Even the nearby passengers looked up, startled. James knelt slightly beside Arthur's seat, his voice trembling with emotion. "I was 10 years old," he began, "and you were my school's janitor. My father had just died, and I used to sit alone on the stairs every day. One day, you found me crying. You didn't just walk past, you sat down, gave me your lunch, and told me that pain means you've loved deeply. You told me not to let life make me bitter." Arthur's eyes softened as fragments of memory returned. "Little Jamie Walker," he whispered. James nodded, eyes glistening. "Yes, sir. And you know what? That day, you told me that one day, I'd do something great. You were the first person who ever believed in me. You said, dreams don't belong to the rich, son, they belong to the brave. I never forgot that." The passengers watched in stunned silence as the pilot straightened up. He turned to the crew and said firmly, "Mr. Bennett is my personal guest. He will not sit in economy." The attendants hesitated. "But Captain, that's an order," James interrupted gently but with finality. "And actually," he turned back to Arthur, "you're sitting in my seat. I'll take yours." Arthur's lips parted in disbelief. "You can't." "I insist," James smiled. "You've spent your life giving to others. Let someone give back for once." And before Arthur could protest, the captain helped him back to the front of the plane. The businessman who had mocked him earlier looked down, red-faced, as Arthur walked past. During the flight, James visited him multiple times, bringing coffee and chatting warmly. They spoke about life, dreams, and the passing of time. Arthur confessed he was traveling to London to see his grandson graduate from college, something he never thought he'd live to witness. When the plane landed, passengers applauded as the captain helped Arthur off personally. Someone recorded the moment, and by the next day, it had gone viral. Pilot gives up his seat for the man who once saved his soul. A week later, Arthur sat in the front row at his grandson's graduation ceremony. As the names were called, his eyes filled with tears of pride and peace. Meanwhile, Captain Walker watched the video replay that someone had sent him, the headline flashing on the screen. He smiled to himself and whispered, "Thank you, Mr. Bennett, for teaching me what it means to truly fly."